All right, buckle up, because this one doesn't read like a sports story. It reads like a corporate thriller dressed in football pads. We've seen player versus coach drama. We've seen owner meddling. We've even seen locker rooms divided over quarterback controversies. But now we've got Nike versus the Cleveland Browns. And if that sounds absurd, that's because it is. But it's also very, very real. Here's the headline. Nike, yes, the swoosh, the megacorporation. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. The empire built on Michael Jordan sneakers and Serena Williams commercials is allegedly leaning on the Browns to make Shedeur Sanders their starting quarterback immediately. Not tomorrow, not after development, not after earning it. Immediately. Let that sink in for a second. We're not talking about a coaching staff decision. We're not talking about a GM's draft board. We're talking about a shoe company calling plays from the boardroom. And at the heart of this tug-of-war is Shedeur Sanders. Young, talented, polished, and already the face of a billion-dollar marketing machine. Now, let's zoom in on the chaos this creates, because the ripple effects are everywhere. Inside the Browns facility, you've got head coach Kevin Stefanski trying to hold the line. Stefanski's entire coaching philosophy is about structure, about meritocracy. He doesn't care about commercials. He cares about reps. He doesn't care about jersey sales. He cares about completions in practice. To him, the idea of throwing a rookie into QB1, because a sponsor said, so is the antithesis of football. It's selling out the sport's integrity. But then you've got Nike dangling numbers that make owners' eyes glaze over. We're talking about projections in the hundreds of millions. $400 million tied to Shedeur Sanders' visibility. Jersey sales, sneaker lines, streaming rights, international markets. To Nike, Shedeur isn't just a quarterback. He's a walking revenue pipeline. And pipelines don't pay off when they're sitting on the bench. So who's caught in the middle? The Browns players. The locker room. Imagine being a veteran, grinding through training camp, only to feel like your team's direction is being dictated not by football logic, but by a boardroom PowerPoint presentation. Some players are looking at Shedeur like, hey, kid's talented, but he's got to earn it. Others, they're thinking, man, if Nike's making the calls, what does that mean for the rest of us? Do I need a sneaker deal to get snaps? It's destabilizing. It fractures trust. And trust is oxygen in a locker room. Without it, everything suffocates. Meanwhile, Shedeur himself is staying quiet, professional, focused. And that's the irony of this whole mess. The kid isn't the one stirring the pot. He's not the one demanding a starting job. Not the one lobbying for spotlight. He's putting in the work, throwing the passes, leading drills. If anything, his calm demeanor only highlights how wild the world around him has become. But Nike doesn't care about calm. Nike cares about now. Their argument is simple. Football is entertainment, and entertainment runs on stars. And right now, Shedeur is a star. Why bury him? Why wait? From a purely business perspective, their case makes sense. But from a football perspective, it's a nightmare. Think about the precedent here. If Nike can influence Cleveland to start Shedeur, what stops another sponsor from demanding their guy plays in another city? Suddenly, you're not building rosters based on talent. You're building them based on corporate partnerships. And once that line is crossed, where does it end? Does a Gatorade-sponsored linebacker get priority over a body armor-sponsored one? Do you start scripting play calls to highlight the star from your official beverage partner? It sounds ridiculous, but this is where unchecked influence leads. Now let's pan out and look at the fans. Because fans smell this stuff instantly. And let's be real. Cleveland fans are some of the most loyal, long-suffering fans in all of sports. They've lived through quarterback after quarterback, disappointment after disappointment. And now, just when they thought they might have a shot at stability, they hear that corporate influence might be calling the shots. That burns. Fans want to believe that wins come from grit, not marketing campaigns. That success is earned on the field, not in the boardroom. The media, of course, is eating this alive. Sports talk shows are blasting hot takes. Does Nike own the Browns? Is the NFL for sale? Pundits debate whether this is a one-off scandal or the start of a terrifying new trend. Twitter, or whatever we're calling it now, is flooded with memes of Nike executives in headsets, dialing up plays from the luxury box. And then there's the NFL itself. Because if you think league officials are just sitting quietly, you're wrong. This is their nightmare scenario. The NFL thrives on the illusion of purity, that games are decided by competition, not by commercial interference. Sure, we all know money is everywhere, but the sanctity of the game is a shield that keeps fans invested. If fans start to believe that corporate deals dictate who plays, trust collapses. And when trust collapses, so does the product. That's why whispers are already coming out of league meetings. Talk of potential regulations, policy shifts. Imagine rules that explicitly forbid sponsors from influencing depth charts or contract clauses. Imagine guardrails designed to keep Nike, Adidas, or any other corporate giant at arm's length from actual team decisions. The league knows it needs to get ahead of this before the precedent is set. But Cleveland? They're stuck in the present storm. Stefanski's digging in. Ownership is torn. Nike is pressing harder. And the players are left wondering what this all means for their season. And here's the cruelest twist of all. Shedeur Sanders himself might become the face of a controversy he never asked for. A rookie who just wants to prove himself, now caught in the crosshairs of billion-dollar agendas. If he gets the QB1 job, people will whisper that he didn't earn it. If he doesn't, people will say Nike lost a battle. Either way, the kid's legacy is being shaped by forces beyond his control. It's almost poetic in a tragic way. Now, let's hand out some fake awards, because this circus deserves them. First, the Corporate Play Caller of the Year award goes to Nike for allegedly trying to run a quarterback sneak from the boardroom. Second, the Integrity on Life Support medal goes to the Browns for letting themselves even get into this mess. And finally, the Keep Calm and Ball on trophy goes to Shedeur Sanders for staying poised while the entire world debates his future. So what's the moral here? It's this. Football has always been business, but business can't replace football. Once you let sponsors dictate who plays, the whole house of cards starts to wobble. The Browns are the test case, but the implications reach every corner of the league. Will the NFL step in and draw the line? Will Stefanski hold his ground and keep his authority intact? Or will Nike's billions bend reality to their will, making Sanders QB1 whether Cleveland's ready or not? Because at the end of the day, this isn't just a battle for one rookie's job. This is a battle for the soul of the sport. Who controls the game, the coaches and players, or the corporations that bankroll them? And right now, all eyes are on Cleveland. And Sanders himself? He's handling it all with the same poise that made Cabot change her tune. He's not lashing out. He's not whining. He's just working, throwing, studying, leading. He's letting everyone else debate while he stacks reps and builds trust. That's why this feels different. That's why Cabot, who's seen it all, went nuts in his defense. Let's hand out some fake awards, because this saga deserves them. First, the Voice of the City award goes to Mary Kay Cabot for turning skepticism into advocacy and lighting a fire under Browns. Second, the Unshakable Rookie Medal goes to Shedeur Sanders for staying cool while the world argues about him. And finally, the Snub of the Century trophy goes to the Browns for somehow making their rookie even more famous by trying to downplay him. So what's the lesson here? It's simple. Talent and character eventually win. You can snub it, sideline it, try to bury it, but it will rise. And when someone like Mary Kay Cabot starts shouting it from the rooftops, the whole city listens. The Browns can delay the inevitable, but they can't stop it. Shedeur Sanders is coming. Whether it's now, mid-season, or next year, he's the future. And thanks to Cabot's going nuts moment, that future just got a whole lot closer. So what do you think? Did Cabot just accelerate Sanders' rise to QB1? Did she throw gasoline on the fire the Browns were desperately trying to control? Or did she simply say what everyone already knew, that Shedeur Sanders isn't just hype, he's the real deal? Because one thing's for certain, in Cleveland the tide has turned. And now, it's only a matter of time before Shedeur takes the field. Not as a prospect, not as a backup, but as the guy. All right, let's roll straight into the next chapter. Because if Mary Kay Cabot lighting the fuse wasn't enough drama, now we got Joe Flacco sitting in the middle of the explosion. And let me tell you, this man has seen just about everything in the NFL. He's been the Super Bowl MVP. He's been the placeholder veteran. He's been the backup nobody talks about. But now he's in Cleveland, smack dab in the middle of the Shedeur Sanders circus. And it's eating at him. See, Flacco didn't sign up for this. He thought he was coming in to provide stability, to be that steady hand, to mentor a young roster, and maybe squeeze a little more football out his arm before riding into retirement. He thought the narrative would be about him, the comeback veteran, the savvy old pro. Instead, every headline is about Sanders. Every chant in training camp is for Sanders. Every question at practice is some variation of, "So, Joe, how do you feel about Shedeur?" Imagine being Flacco. 15 years in this league, a Super Bowl ring, a career most quarterbacks would kill for, and suddenly you're reduced to a side character in someone else's Netflix docuseries. That's not just frustrating, that's humiliating. And here's where it gets dangerous. Flacco's patience is wearing thin. At first, he brushed it off. Polite smiles, canned answers, the usual veteran diplomacy. But as the noise grows louder, as Mary Kay Cabot herself starts calling for Shedeur to take the throne, the cracks start to show. Flacco's answers get shorter. His body language shifts. Teammates start whispering that the old vet isn't taking this so well. Then comes a moment that lights the powder keg. At a post-practice presser, Flacco gets asked a question straight up. Do you think Shedeur Sanders deserves to be QB1? And instead of giving the safe, PR-approved answer, Flacco bristles. He leans forward, looks a reporter dead in the eye, and says, I've been in this league long enough to know hype doesn't win games. Hard work, discipline, experience, that's what wins. So let's pump the brakes. Boom. There it is. The shot across the bow. The room goes quiet, but the internet doesn't. Within minutes, the quote is everywhere. Clips get chopped up, memes start flying. ESPN panels argue about whether Flacco snapped or spoke the truth. Suddenly, the Browns aren't just dealing with Sanders' rise. They're dealing with a full-on quarterback Cold War. Inside the locker room, the tension skyrockets. Younger players, who've already gravitated toward Sanders' energy, roll their eyes at Flacco's comments. To them, he sounds like a bitter vet clinging to relevance. Veterans, though, they nod. They respect the honesty. They feel like Flacco said what they've been thinking. Prove it on Sundays, kid. But here's the kicker. Shedeur himself doesn't bite. He doesn't clap back, doesn't throw shade, doesn't even acknowledge it. He just goes to work. Calm, professional, like he's above it all. And that, ironically, only makes him look better. Because in the war of perception, silence can be the loudest response. The Browns coaching staff? They're trapped. Stefanski knows Flacco's comments aren't helping, but he also knows benching a Super Bowl MVP over a soundbite looks bad. At the same time, he can't ignore the groundswell of support for Sanders. Every practice, the kid is making throws that turn heads. Every day, the fan chants get louder. And every column Cabot writes cranks the pressure up another notch. Ownership is no help either. The Haslams are watching jersey sales spike, with Sanders' name on the back. They're watching national media suddenly care about the Browns again. They're hearing Nike executives whispering about market potential. In their minds, Flacco might be steady, but Sanders is a future, and the future pays dividends. So now the Browns are in full-blown crisis mode. Do you stick with the veteran who feels disrespected? Or do you hand the keys to the rookie who hasn't played a down of regular season football yet, but already owns the headlines? Fans, of course, are split. Half are chanting, she DUR, at practice. The other half are yelling, respect the vet, on talk radio. Cleveland hasn't seen a civil war this messy since the quarterback jersey with 30 names on it. And this one feels even worse. Because the stakes aren't just football, they're cultural. This is old guard versus new wave. Tradition versus transformation. And the national media? Oh, they're feasting. One day, it's Shedeur's the future. Flacco needs to step aside. The next, it's Flacco is right. The Browns are rushing the kid. Entire segments are built on analyzing Flacco's body language, on replaying Sanders' silent smirk when asked about the drama. The circus is fully televised, and the Browns are the clowns. But here's the secret no one's saying out loud. This might actually be good for Sanders. Every time Flacco lashes out, every time Cabot doubles down, every time fans chant his name, Sanders' legend grows. He doesn't even have to say a word. His story is being written for him. And in a league where narrative is everything, that's priceless. Of course, it's not so good for Flacco. He's starting to look less like a wise veteran and more like a guy fighting against the inevitable. And the more he pushes back, the more people rally around Sanders. It's a classic story. The old king refusing to give up the throne, while the young prince quietly wins the people's hearts. And the Browns? They're the kingdom caught in the middle, with their season hanging in the balance. Let's hand out some fake awards, because this chapter deserves them. First, the snap heard round the dog pound. Award goes to Joe Flacco for giving the quote that turned whispers into a wildfire. Second, the silent assassin medal goes to Shedeur Sanders for letting everyone else fight while he just keeps balling. And finally, the media puppet master trophy goes to Mary Kay Cabot for sparking this whole thing and then sitting back while Cleveland combusts. So where does it go from here? That's the million-dollar question. Maybe Stefanski caves, names Sanders QB1, and hopes winning quiets the chaos. Maybe he sticks with Flacco, risking boos and banners in the stands. Or maybe, just maybe, this is only the beginning of a season-long soap opera that makes every Browns game must-watch television. Because one thing's clear, this isn't just about football anymore. This is about pride, about legacy, about the clash between a fading veteran, a rising star, and a franchise that can't seem to get out of its own way. All right, here we go. Because you didn't think this story was going to settle down, did you? No chance. This is Cleveland we're talking about. The Browns don't do quiet. They don't do simple. They do chaos. And when the chaos involves Shedeur Sanders, Joe Flacco, Mary Kay Cabot, and the most snake-bitten fan base in NFL history, you better believe the volume's about to crank up another notch. Let's set the scene. It's week 1. The banners are flying. The dog pound is barking. The air smells like cheap beer and burnt hot dogs. And everyone in Cleveland is asking the same question. Who's going to run out of that tunnel as QB1? Flacco, the grizzled vet? Or Sanders, the rookie already crowned by fans and media alike? Kevin Stefanski's poker face is working overtime. He's been ducking and weaving the question for weeks, playing off like the depth chart is a football decision. But everyone knows the truth. This isn't just about football anymore. This is about pride, politics, and perception. Stefanski isn't just choosing a quarterback. He's choosing a side in a civil war. On one side, you got Joe Flacco holding the Respect Your Elders banner. He's a safe option. The guy who's been here before, the man who can steady the ship. And let's be fair, he hasn't been bad. In practice, he's looked like the same old Joe. Calm, steady, good enough to not lose games, but not the guy to ignite the franchise. He's a vanilla ice cream of quarterbacks. Reliable, but not exactly exciting. On the other side, you got Shedeur Sanders, the rookie dripping with potential. The kid who already has more charisma in his walk to the huddle than most players have in their entire careers. The one who fans chant for, who teammates whisper about, who Mary Kay Cabot is practically anointed as the savior of Cleveland football. He's not just vanilla ice cream. He's triple scoop Rocky Road with sprinkles, whipped cream, and a cherry on top. Messy? Sure, but unforgettable. Now, imagine being Stefanski in that locker room, right before kickoff. You're standing there, looking at your quarterbacks. On one hand, the safe veteran who might buy you time. On the other, the rookie who could either make you look like a genius or get you fired by Thanksgiving. That's not a depth chart decision. That's a career-defining gamble. And here's where it gets even spicier. Ownership has their fingerprints all over this. The Haslams are leaning toward Sanders. Why? Because jersey sales. Because media attention. Because Nike execs are allegedly sitting in luxury boxes, licking their chops. If Shedeur runs out as QB1, the Browns become the story of the NFL. If Flacco does, yawn. Cleveland's just another team hoping not to collapse by midseason. So Stefanski has to decide. Do you appease your bosses and fans, or do you stick with your gut and your process? The locker room isn't helping, either. You got veterans glaring at Sanders like he's cutting the line. You've got rookies hyping him up like he's already the second coming of Mahomes. Whispers swirl in the corners. If the kid starts, are we really playing for football or are we just playing for headlines? And then it happens. Kickoff. The moment Cleveland has been waiting for. The announcer's voice booms over the speakers. Your starting quarterback for Cleveland Browns, the crowd holds its breath. The tunnel smoke clears. And who comes jogging out? Shedeur Sanders. The stadium erupts like a bomb went off. Chants of SHEDUR. SHEDUR shake the rafters. Fans are crying, hugging, spilling beers in disbelief. For the first time in forever, Cleveland feels hope. Not cautious, fragile hope, but full-throated, delirious. Maybe this is finally our year hope. Flacco? He's on the sideline, helmet in hand, jaw tight. He claps for Sanders, sure, but the look in his eyes says it all. He's not happy. And who could blame him? He just got benched not by performance, but by narrative, by hype, by the unstoppable train of Shedeur Sanders mania. Now here's the thing. The fairy tale doesn't start smoothly. Sanders' first drive is rough. A couple of incomplete passes, a sack, the nerves clearly visible. Stefanski's headset is buzzing with assistants yelling, "Pull him! Put Joe in." But Stefanski resists. He knows once you go with Sanders, you can't flip-flop. You ride the wave, even if it crashes. By the second quarter, though, something clicks. Sanders starts slinging. A dart across the middle. A 25-yard strike down the sideline. The kid is fearless. Every throw, every scramble, every audible feels electric. The crowd is on its feet for every snap. It's not just football. It's theater, it's spectacle, it's a movement. And when Sanders throws his first touchdown, forget it. The stadium nearly collapses under the noise. Fans are hugging strangers, barking in the dog pound, waving Sanders jerseys like victory flags. It's pandemonium. Mary Kay Cabot? She's in the press box, smirking like the prophet who called it first. Every tweet she sends goes viral instantly. Sanders' era has begun. Cleveland, meet your quarterback. She's no longer just reporting the story. She's shaping it. But let's not sugarcoat it. This decision has consequences. Flacco's frustration simmers into resentment. He starts dropping subtle digs in interviews. It's a long season, you'll see. Hype doesn't win games. You can feel the rift forming in the quarterback room. Sanders is a star, Flacco the afterthought. And that dynamic isn't sustainable. The veterans are split, too. Some rally behind Sanders, energized by his fire. Others mutter about disrespect, about skipping steps, about the Browns selling their souls for headlines. Practices get chippier. Scrimmages feel like battles. Stefanski spends more time managing egos and designing plays. And the national media? They can't get enough. ESPN runs Sanders' highlights nonstop. Talk shows declare him the face of the new NFL. Analysts debate whether Stefanski made the right call, but nobody denies this. Cleveland is finally relevant. Nike, of course, is ecstatic. Sanders' jersey sells out in hours. The swoosh is everywhere, commercials, billboards, social media campaigns. Shedeur isn't just a quarterback anymore. He's a brand, a symbol, a cultural phenomenon. But here's the twist. That spotlight is hot. Too hot. Every mistake Sanders makes is magnified. Every interception is replayed 100 times. Every bad drive fuels critics who say he wasn't ready. And behind it all, Flacco lurks like a shadow, waiting for his chance to say, "I told you so." So where does this leave the Browns? In uncharted waters. They've hitched their wagon to Sanders, and now they have to live with it, for better or worse. Stefanski's job, the team's chemistry, the franchise's reputation, it's all tied to one rookie quarterback. And Shedeur, he's not just playing football. He's carrying a city, a franchise, and $1 billion brand on his back. That's more than most rookies ever face. But if anyone can handle it, it might just be him. Let's hand out some fake awards, because this circus deserves them. First, the walking headline award goes to Shedeur Sanders for turning his very first start into a national event. Second, the grumpy throne guard trophy goes to Joe Flacco for playing the role of the displaced veteran to perfection. And finally, the narrative puppet master medal goes to Mary Kay Cabot for throwing gasoline on the fire and then basking in the glow.